Hey guys, Bill here with War Made Simple, and today we're going to do something a little bit new, and that is going to be looking at news and current events around the world and kind of giving you guys a quick overview of what's going on. And the topic we're talking about today is what's going on in the Russo-Ukrainian war. I actually will have a follow-up video discussing the war itself, but this is going to be specifically on the news going on the last 3 days in Ukraine and Russia. You're probably going to see this on day 4 because that's just how YouTube works with uploads. Right now, we're in the midst of a Ukrainian offensive inside of Russia. This is the first time this has happened in the war by the Ukrainian army. There was a couple of other raids and attacks done into this region of Russia by what's called the Russian Free Army. That's basically a group of Russians who have joined up with the Ukrainian forces to attempt to liberate their nation from Putin. This was done by the Ukrainian army, and they've advanced roughly 130 square kilometers into Russia proper, from what I understand. That number, though, we don't know how accurate that is. Information on where they're going, how far they've gone into Russia, what the overall goal of this mission is right now is unclear. Ukraine hasn't been super upfront with why they're doing this. All we know is they are doing it. And the Russian response has been all over the place as of right now. We've heard things from the invasion's completely contained to we're issuing evacuation orders for things that are supposedly way outside the containment zone to Russian units surrendering. We have all of this different essentially views and information coming out all over the place. So let's sift through this, and I'm going to give you some of the info that I know is factually correct at this point. So first off, 130 square kilometers is kind of the agreed upon estimate in terms of how far they've gone in. It could be more, it could be less, but right now we pretty much know that they're in there at least 100 square kilometers. Additionally, we know that the Russians were not prepared for this when the Ukrainians hit. They hit so fast that they apparently overwhelmed a lot of the Russian units on the border and have taken multiple groups of prisoners. Based on the footage I've seen from drone camera and otherwise, I think that they've taken between at least 50 to 100 Russian POWs in this attack. We don't know if this was they basically surrounded them and told them to surrender, or the Russians came to them and surrendered. We've heard both on both Russian media and Ukrainian media, so we really don't know, but we do know that there are POWs. Additionally, we know of up to at least 4 Russian aircraft that have supposedly been damaged, with 2 of them being confirmed destroyed. One being an attack helicopter, and the other being an ground attack aircraft. Think of something like an A-10 Warthog. That's been the casualty counts on what we know. We don't know in terms of how many Ukrainians have been injured or killed, or how many Russians have been injured or killed in this assault. Additionally, we know there's around 1,000 Ukrainians in the region right now. I've heard that there's as high as 2,000 in reserve still in Ukraine. So this might indicate that there is still more to come on this. The area that they're in, Kursk, is an area that they've shelled continuously, and there's a bunch of industrial facilities in that region that are critical to the Russian war effort. However, I don't think that Ukraine is doing this as an attempt to take those out. The reason I don't think that is because if they were, there'd be a heck of a lot more than at most 3,000 troops in this area. I think this is a probing attack to see what Russia's going to do, but it could be 100% wrong. Additionally, what this could be is a distraction. I know on the Eastern Front, being specifically in the Donetsk region of Ukraine, the Ukrainians and the Russians have been battling out almost World War I style trench warfare, and neither side's been able to take a ton of ground. So this could be Ukraine's attempt to basically make the entire Russian border fair game for combat, which means Russia has to reposition a ton of its forces. Right now, they don't have a ton of forces on the border. In fact, from what I understand, Ukraine has overwhelmed both lines of defense on the border, and there is no further defensive lines from Kursk to Moscow. So there is nothing more out there, which means Russia has to reposition a decent amount of troops in order to hold the area. There's no defensive benefit. The defenders do not have trenches. They don't have fortifications like they do in the other sites of the war. So this is Zaporizhia, I probably mispronounced that, and Donetsk. So those areas have been fortified. Kursk has not. Ultimately, we don't know what's going to happen with this, but in my opinion, this is a new phase of the war. Because this has shown that Ukraine now feels confident enough with its numbers, with its equipment, and with its technology to strike Russia proper on the ground. There could be a lot more of this in the future, and you could see Russia becoming more and more desperate with how it's using its troops. Because right now, it's been kind of a meat grinder approach, and they've been kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel in a lot of ways. And if they've got to man the entire Russian border now, that makes things even more difficult for the Russians. So ultimately, we'll see what happens with this. I'll give you guys an update on this if I can get some more information. But for right now, here's what we know. The Ukrainian forces are in Russia. Whether they're advancing or not is currently unknown. But this will be something that will have a lot of impact in the weeks to come. Alrighty. Catch you guys later. Take it easy.